Okay folks, what we have here is a 1996 F-150 with .300 straight six. And the problem I've been having is this squeaking noise. Sounds about like a squeaking belt, serpentine belt, coming from, of course, this area. And it's been an ongoing problem. I've done some looking around online, forums and whatnot, and I've yet to really find anything. So that's why I'm doing this video, to maybe help somebody else out. So to go over some of the things that I've done. Initially, of course, start off just replacing the serpentine belt and tensioner from a local auto parts store. Wasn't necessarily a cheap one, but you know, it was a good one. And the problem seemed to go away. But then, lo and behold, about a month and a half later, it came back slowly, and then it got worse again. After talking to a friend, he said, well, sometimes those cheap belts will do that. So I got to looking at it, and well, the belt that I bought wasn't a cheap one. It was a Dayton belt. And so I figured, well, why not? You know, I'll just replace the belt one more time, see what it does. So I did, and again, same thing. Squeaking noise went away. And after about a month, 2 months or so, it came back. So I started kind of getting aggravated and looking. Did the old pipe and stick test, you know, put your ear up to it and try and pinpoint exactly where the squeak's coming from. And it sounded about like it was coming from the center of the area here. So I thought, well, maybe it's the bearing in that water pump. So I replaced the water pump, went ahead, well, had it all apart, did the whole flush system, thermostat, all that, you know, good maintenance. Put it all back together, and it was still there. So I started looking around again, and I figured, well, maybe it is just that damn belt and tensioner. So I went ahead and got a Motorcraft belt and factory tensioner. And yet again, it seemed like that took care of it. But here I am now, and it still came back. About a month, maybe 2 months later. Started looking at all the other pulleys and everything. Well, I know the pulley on this air compressor is good, spins really good and freely. Steering pump was leaking not too long ago, a few years back, and I replaced that, so I'm pretty certain it's not that. That smog pump down there, I'd replaced it a year or so ago, so pretty sure it's not it. Moves freely and everything. And I started feeling around on the alternator, and it seemed like it was kind of rough with it spun and everything. So I was like, well, let's go ahead and replace that. It's probably the original anyway. So I did, and I had it bench tested. The alternator was about to go bad anyway, so it's kind of a good thing I went ahead and did it. Yet it still does it. And I'll let you hear exactly what it sounds like. That way you can hear it. And there it is. Very annoying. Gets louder as the engine revs up. Alright, so as you just heard, that's the sound that I'm getting. And it boils down to there could be only one other thing. Got to looking at this harmonic balancer down here. Now, as you can tell, I already had the fan and the shroud removed, so you guys can see this. But if you look really close, this harmonic balancer down here, and I'll show you when I take it out so you can get a better look, but this harmonic balancer down here has this rubber around it, and it's pretty deteriorated and rotted and starting to come out. So that's what I'm about to do. I'm gonna give that thing, try and change it out. I already got a new one. Got a new one right here. Something else you want to note is that I made the mistake. Bought a harmonic balancer thinking it was the right one, and it wasn't. This particular model has this extra ring that goes on the back of here that bolts on here, and that's for your crankshaft position sensor. So if you have this problem, make sure you get the right one. So let's get at it, and I'll be back after I get it replaced and we'll see where we're at. Alright, so here we are, taking this harmonic balancer off. A couple things I wanted to note is that one of the reasons I know for certain it's something in this whole belt system is I ran the engine without the belt on just for a few minutes. It isn't going to hurt nothing. The water pump's right there, but I only ran it for a few minutes just to hear it. Actually, just not less than a minute just to hear it. And the noise went away after you take the belt off. So I know it's something in this belt system. But just to show you, for starters, of course, you're going to take the fan shroud off and the fan from the water pump. Then you got to pull this big thing off right in the middle of that harmonic balancer. That thing's torqued down to about 150 foot-pounds, so it takes quite a bit to get it off. So anyway, I pulled that out. There's something else to note too. You'll see here it's got sealant around this, and I'll show you why here in a little bit, why that's there. Now, if anybody ever tells you you can't pull this thing off without taking the radiator off, they're wrong. You just got to make sure you get a puller with a short bolt so that it doesn't hit the radiator. Something else I had a little bit of trouble with is this harmonic balancer is most likely the original, so the holes that the bolts go into for the puller were pretty full of gunk, and I had to chase them out with a tap. So I'm all mounted up, got the puller set up, and I already started pulling off a little bit. So there's a few more turns and it'll come off. So I'm gonna pause this and I'll take it over the bench and I'll show you everything. Alright, so we're over here at the bench. Get this puller off. Something else you want to make sure you do, I didn't mention a minute ago, is when you're doing this, make sure you're very careful not to hit that radiator as you're pulling it out, so you don't bend up the fins on the radiator. So I'm going to pull this off. Alright, so I have the puller off, and there's the old harmonic balancer. Something I noticed right away is, if you look at the new one, you look at it at an angle like this lip right here, where this pulley is, and you get the rubber in between here, and then you have the inside ring that's attached to the crankshaft. You notice there's like it's even, there's nothing there. Yet you look at this one, and you see how raised up it is. You also see this thing is pretty dry rotted, starting to crack and come apart and everything. So there's no doubt in my mind that was the problem. As I mentioned earlier, this has this extra ring on the back of here, and this is for your crankshaft position sensor. So you have to pull this off and install it on the back of this one. And you have to make sure that the new one has the holes for that to go on. So let's do that. Okay, so took these bolts out, which these are a security screw, by the way, so make sure you have the right bit for that. These things are in here pretty good because it's been in here for like 20 years, so they had to be very careful not to bust them when I took them out. But anyway, got it loose. Something else I noted really right off the bat too is that this old harmonic balancer, if you look, for one, it says Ford right there, so that pretty much tells me that's probably the original. Also, it has the timing marks right there. No, the new one, this is an aftermarket one. Only mark it has is that mark right there. Nothing else anywhere else on it. So just to be certain that I put this exciter ring on the new one correctly and marked it where the keyway goes, just to make sure that I put it on this one correctly. And I had to kind of easily pry it that a little bit to get it to come off because it was on there pretty good. And line it up, and then I'll put it on there. If you look at this one, you can tell this thing is really worn. All inside there, that rubber is shot. So I'm pretty certain that once we get done with this, we'll fix the problem. Okay, so I've got the exciter ring on there. What I noticed pretty quickly after I got it on there is that there's now a gap in between the exciter ring and the harmonic balancer. Whereas before, this exciter ring was flush up against this, and you can see where it was like rubbing up against it. So there's no doubt that was the problem. I used some high strength Loctite on these screws just to make sure they don't back out. So it would be a bad thing. If the thing comes loose, it won't run. So I mentioned earlier, this is your main bolt that holds that harmonic balancer on. And if you notice, this has got a little bit of a bevel right there. And what that is for so there's your front main oil seal. And that bevel allows it to go inside there without messing up that lip on the seal. Which means the oil could still go through your crankshaft here and out the front. So you have to put sealant on the front of that, on the back side of that washer, and you put the main bolt in there to seal it up. Alright, so we got the harmonic balancer on there and got it started. It was a little bit of a pain to get it started, and something else to note is that this thicker washer that goes in between there, it's hard to get that thread started to draw it up. So what I did is just use a thin washer, which, as you see, as it started drawing it up, it kind of smushed a little bit, but this one's a little bit bigger. I'm gonna use that one next until I get it all the way drawn up, like so. And then I'll put the other one on after I get it snugged down, and I'll put the sealant on there. Alright, so there we have it. Tightened down, all in place. And I can tell right away that there's quite a bit of a difference. So let's get the belt on here and see what we get. And there we have it, no more squeak. That's what it was the whole time, is that harmonic balancer. So that's it. I hope this helps if somebody else has the same problem. A little disclaimer, I'm no ASE certified mechanic. I'm just your average guy that works on his own vehicle. So if there's any wrong information, don't call me out on it or anything. Just you can give me a private message or something, I guess, but correct me. But just want to try and help somebody else out. Pulled my hair out over this thing, and Glad I finally figured it out. Thanks.